You know the name Rothschild, the banking family that shaped Europe's destiny. But there was another dynasty that mastered the game in the East, and their story has been all but erased. Our story begins not in a European capital, but in the ancient city of Baghdad. It was here, in the fading light of the Ottoman Empire, that the Sassoon family had thrived for generations as trusted merchants and financiers. But political tides are treacherous, and favor can turn to fear in an instant. Facing rising persecution, the family patriarch, David Sassoon, was forced to make a choice: stay and risk everything, or flee into the unknown. In 1829, he chose exile. With little more than his family and his wits, he escaped to Bombay, a bustling port under British control. This wasn't a city of kings, but a city of commerce, the vital link between British industry and Asian markets. For a man with nothing, it was the perfect place to have everything to gain. David arrived with no formal wealth or title. His capital was his deep, intuitive understanding of global trade. He knew what the British needed to import, what India could produce, and what China was desperate to buy. He saw opportunity in chaos, building a network that crossed cultural and religious lines in a city defined by its divisions. And then, he found the key to his fortune, a product with explosive demand and devastating consequences: opium. The British East India Company controlled the trade, funneling the drug from Indian fields to Chinese shores, where it was officially banned but voraciously consumed. David Sassoon didn't dirty his hands with smuggling. He became the system's architect, its financier, its insurer, its logistical mastermind. His firm, David Sassoon & Co., became the invisible engine of Britain's lucrative China trade. Was he a visionary businessman, or a merchant of misery? The answer depends on who you ask, but the result was undeniable. He became one of the wealthiest men in the entire region. But David Sassoon didn't just hoard his silver. He plowed it back into the earth, quite literally. He built docks, founded textile mills that employed thousands, and erected synagogues and hospitals, many still standing today. This was the core of the Sassoon strategy: transform volatile trade profits into permanent, tangible assets. When the American Civil War choked off cotton supplies to Britain, the Sassoons, who controlled Indian cotton, saw their influence skyrocket. They turned global crises into personal opportunities. They built empires, not with armies, but with ledgers. To manage his growing empire, David dispatched his sons like chess pieces across the globe to Hong Kong, Shanghai, and London. They weren't just merchants. They were outposts of a financial kingdom, embedding themselves wherever capital flowed. By the time David died in 1864, the Sassoons were a global force. In Shanghai, a city being carved into international concessions, they financed the very infrastructure of colonialism. They built the grand buildings on the Bund, including the iconic Sassoon House. They were no longer just traders. They were bankers, landlords, and the undisputed Rothschilds of the East. The family completed its astonishing arc from fugitives to aristocracy when Albert Sassoon was knighted by Queen Victoria, seamlessly joining the British elite. They had served the empire faithfully, and the empire had rewarded them beyond measure. But a shadow lingered over their respectability. Their immense wealth was still rooted in the opium that was ravaging Chinese society. They operated in a moral gray zone the modern world would scarcely recognize. The 20th century, however, does not respect dynasties. The Great Depression, the collapse of empires, and the rise of nationalism began to fracture their world. The Sassoon businesses, though resilient, faced a new reality. The age of the family network was ending, replaced by the age of the faceless corporation. World War II and subsequent revolutions scattered the family and nationalized their assets. Their influence, once so vast, quietly faded into the footnotes of history. But their legacy is far from gone. The Sassoons were pioneers of a borderless world. They demonstrated that capital could move faster than politics, and that a family could wield more power than many nations. They were the ghost in the machine of empire. In our modern era of global tech giants and multinational corporations, the Sassoon blueprint is more relevant than ever. Today's titans don't conquer with soldiers. They conquer with supply chains, data, and market dominance. They, too, navigate the complex space between national law and global profit. The story of the Sassoons is a warning from the past. It asks us, when money is your only nation, what are the consequences? And what happens when the system that creates you finally turns? If this journey into the hidden mechanics of power resonated with you, please give this video a like. It truly helps the channel. For more deep dives into the forces that shape our world, subscribe to Winds of Thought. History isn't just about the past. It's the key to understanding our present.